Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's get started with some for voice. We'll start with the plaintiff. Ready? Okay, so why don't I go ahead and have you do that? Maybe page 9 at the top. Okay. And so what did you additionally say or discuss with Sarah on this night? I guess to preface this quote, Sarah had a lot of bruises on her body. She had been in some kind of accident, and when I came out, I told her that I got my stuff to party with for that night, and that maybe I should give her some because of her hip injury, and she said that no, she was okay. Oh, I see. Okay. And when you told her that, you had just come from the men's room? Yes. Had I don't. Ron left the men's room first, and you followed, if you recall. I believe I came out first. And so after she declined your offer, was that the end of the night's investigation? Yeah, we left shortly thereafter. You had that. Again, your item that you purchased from Ron analyzed by the sheriff's lab? Yes. And it came back at 0.40 grams of cocaine? Yes. So stipulated? Yes. Okay, investigator, I'm going to have you now return and focus in on a visit. This will be one for counts 11 and 12, a visit of August 12th, 2008, and on this occasion, did you return back to continue on with your investigation? Yes. And at this time, was there a bartender here that you had seen before? Yes. And was that Cassie? Yes. Did you order any drinks from Cassie? Yes, I did. What did you get on this occasion? A beer. All right. Now this occasion, after you get your drinks, your beers from Cassie, did you ask her any questions? Yes, I did. What did you ask her? I asked her if she knew anybody at the bar that could hook me up with some stuff. Okay, all right. In addition to asking that question, did you inquire about anybody else? I asked her if she had seen Ron. And then as to Ron, what was her response? I can't recall if she said he had been in there earlier, but he wasn't there at the time. And then you asked her some follow-up question of her area of interest, either before or after that one about Ron. I don't recall the specific conversation after that. Okay, but you asked, in addition to asking about Ron, maybe you mentioned earlier that you had asked that you were looking for something. Yes, and that was, I don't think I used the actual word. I said either stuff or something, inferring to drugs. And how, if at all, did Cassie respond to that question? She told me that she didn't know of anybody in there. All right, so Ron's not there, and Cassie, at least initially, indicates she can't help you. Yes. So then after a little bit of time passes, do you somehow end up at the jukebox? Yes, I did. With Cassie? Yes. And do you have some further discussion with her at that location? I'd have to refer to my report for the specific conversation. Okay, but yes, we did talk. All right, why don't I have you go ahead and do that and maybe suggest page 9 in kind of the middle portion? Okay. All right, and so what further discussion do you have with Cassie on this topic of what you're looking for? It was after I asked her if she knew anybody that could score some drugs for me. She said no. I asked her how about Ron, and I informed her that I had been scoring from him in the past. And what did she say to that, to your comment, to your announcement that you had been doing that? She just basically told me again that she didn't know anyone that could help me at that time. And then after you're at the jukebox. After that, then where do you go inside the premises? Back to the fixed bar. And at that point in time, or thereafter, do you ever come upon Ron? Yes. How did that begin? He walked into the premises. Okay, and when he did that, did you make any statement to Cassie? I believe I said, there's Ron. Did you say anything else? I believe I said, there's Ron. I'll talk to him, or I'll get it from him. Something along those lines. When you uttered those words to Cassie, was she looking in your direction? Yes. And then Ron, what happened to him? What did he do? He came over to where I was standing and we had a conversation. Okay, and what was the nature of that conversation? I informed him that I was looking for $20 worth, and we proceeded with a transaction. Okay, and so what did he do in that transaction? He removed a small plastic Ziploc bag. I handed him a $20 bill, and we exchanged at the fixed bar. So you're not even in the men's room? No. All right, and so he gave you the similar item as packaged in the past? Yes. And you gave him a $20 bill? Yes. And when this exchange is going on, are you seated or standing at the bar? I believe I was seated for some of it and standing for some. And during this time, as you're doing this exchange or making this purchase from Ron, where is Cassie? What is she doing? Cassie was standing near the jukebox area, and she looked in our direction while we were doing the hand-to-hand transaction. All right, a little more Q&A practice. We'll start with the defense. Did you have that number written down anyplace? I did. When is the first time you went to Harvey Turlock's home? It was before Harvey went in the ceramic business. It was when he was playing the stock market. How long ago was that? It had to be 15 years ago. And was the next time you went to his home in September? No, I went there on 2 or 3 other occasions or more. Now, you had called Harvey, you stated, to go to see him in September. Is that right? Correct. You called him at home? I did. Now, before September, how many years had it been since you had seen Harvey Turlock or talked to him? It would be about 6 years ago. All right. Now, you called him to make an appointment to go over and see him in September? Right. You brought somebody with you? I did. Who was that? A friend of mine. What's his name? John Reamer. He is actually related to you, isn't he? Correct. What's his relationship? First cousin. And you went with Mr. Reamer to talk to Harvey about borrowing money, right? Correct. You spoke to Harvey in the bedroom of the house, did you not? Not at this time. We sat out in the patio and discussed it. Was this on a weekday or weekend? Sunday morning. Was Harvey sick at that time? He didn't say anything or complain because we talked for about 2 hours. Did he say anything about just having returned from the hospital? I don't recall. Now, your first cousin's name was what again? John Reamer. Was this the only time John Reamer was with you when you saw Mr. Turlock? Correct. There was no other occasions? Right. And I believe you said in this first conversation that nothing was said about Mr. Perlman by Harvey? That's right. Now, subsequently, you said you saw Harvey in his office at a time when he gave you some money. Is that correct? That's right. How did he give you the money? He had $500 on him, and then he called a friend of his and got the other $5. He says, take this down and check back with me. What was the name of this friend of his? He dialed a number, and he talked to some friend of his and asked him if he had about $500 on him. Well, let me understand. He gave you $500 out of his pocket? Yes, and he wanted to give me $1,000. Right. So he called a friend to get the other $500. Now, you never paid any of this money over to any of the other parties involved in this, did you? Not the parties involved, no. You mentioned a Peter? That's right. What business is he in? Plumbing business. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.